Hey everyone, welcome to the Roto Grinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevie TPFL. It's Monday, it's August 29th, and we have the dreaded 13 games. I say dreaded because, hey, I used to play baseball. I'm very superstitious. Anytime I come up with 13 lineups, I have to build a 14th or, subtract one and make a 12th lineup. I do not like the number 13, so for that reason, I don't like this slate. So I'm hoping you like this slate, Siege.
Sure. I love this slate.
That's the way to be enthusiastic about this slate.
Absolutely. It's baseball. How could I not be enthused? Wait. Just kidding.
So 13 games, 10 pitchers, 10 offenses. It's going to be hard to narrow this one down when you're, coming up to your final process.
I even took an hour before we recorded the podcast because we had a set time today. I was like, I'm just going to sit and do some research. Nope, still got 10 teams, still got 10 pitchers, and I'm more convinced than ever that I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, on these types of slates, one stack is going to go off and score a bunch of runs, and if you don't have that stack, you're going to be so far behind. I don't know if today's the day that you try to just build a bunch of one-offs and, hope that you hit it, or you just build that stack.
Just it's the Tigers are staring right at me, and it's just like, this team has let me down 3 days in a row this weekend, and I was really just hoping I could get off. And then I see they have James Shields. Oh boy, here we go again.
If you guys haven't checked out our sponsor site, fantasydraft.com, today is the day to check it out. They have a $5,000 5-day survive and advance, top 70% advance each round. It's 5 days. They bumped this tournament up to $5,000, and I'm going to be mad at you guys if we don't fill this thing. You can put in 20 entries. Not telling you to max out, but put your entries in. Get into this tournament. It's an awesome tournament. I'm really glad they bumped it up here on this slate. And CJ's pulling his hair out because this slate is not the best slate for a survive and advance. But, hey, we have to like that they bumped it up to $5,000.
I love that. I absolutely love it. Props to Fantasy Draft. I'm already in. Oh, I just realized I have to build a cash lineup on this slate. Oh, goodness sake.
If you guys haven't checked them out, make sure you use promo code Grinders. That way you guys get incentives here at Roto Grinders for Fantasy Draft for free for a year. And you get a 100% deposit bonus up to $600. Get in this 5-day strive in advance because I've already sent the email. I'm trying to get the highest listener a Fantasy Draft hat. I'm waiting to see what they say. So we're going to a little add on to the price. So make sure you guys get in. It's nothing official yet, but I have a feeling that it's going to make that happen. All right, CJ, we have a lot to talk about with 13 games. We're going to start with Washington at Philadelphia, Tanner Roark against Jake Thompson. Tanner Roark, not a guy we're going to use on this slate, right?
No. Washington, one of the offenses that really let me down every day this weekend. Granted, I knew I shouldn't have stacked him against Jorge De La Rosa and did it anyways, but boy, outside of Trey Turner, this offense just sputtering, inconsistent. But now they got Jake Thompson, the guy who attempts to throw sinkers and just not sinking in a hitter's ballpark. And I'm really this is one of my offenses I want to go back to the board with.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. It's Jake Thompson, right? Murphy, Harper, Turner, Rendon, Ramos, all these guys seem like they're in a good spot here against Thompson.
Hey, I got some really bad news for you. If this slate couldn't have gotten any worse, have you opened your FanDuel lobby yet?
No.
Trey Turner is not a shortstop anymore.
Man.
As if the slate couldn't have gotten any worse.
Oh, why do you guys do that to us?
It's September. Does anybody really care if the roster positions are correct at this point?
I'm sure they had people emailing them every day. Right? They had people emailing them every day. All right, so Thompson, small sample sizes, of course. We haven't seen him too much here in the bigs, right around 19 innings. But what we've seen so far is this guy gives up a ton of hard contact and doesn't have that big a strikeout rate. And we look at his minor league numbers and, we can't see hard contact and stuff like that. But we're seeing a pretty, low strikeout rate in the minors too. So, I just don't know if this is a guy that has that strikeout stuff.
I just worry because he's a ground ball guy. Once he calms down and the sinker starts to sink, it looks like Philly's just going to give him a long leash at this point. Their season's over and they just gave him a vote of confidence 2 days in a row. he's in it for the rest of the season, like the sinker's going to start sinking at some point. Like it's not, and when it does, it's just going to be turned into ground ball central, and it's going to be frustrating. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen this start. He's gotten rocked pretty much every time out there, but if you start watching a game and you just start seeing a lot of ground balls, that's probably the time to get off attacking him.
Yeah, and Dave and JM always talk about ground ball pitchers, fly ball hitters, and stuff like that. Murphy's a fly ball hitter, so this might actually play really well into Daniel Murphy.
Yeah, I really like the spot for Daniel Murphy a lot here. One of my favorite plays on the board. Second base is actually like probably one of the weaker positions on the board today. And so it's a really good spot to just pay up and take the high upside guy in that hitter's park. I really like Murphy today.
Yeah, at the beginning of the season, if I told you Murphy would have had a OPS 100 points higher than Harper, you would have told me I was crazy.
I would have just said Bryce Harper got hurt after a game.
That's right. So Tanner Roark, a guy that against righties, a lot of soft contact, doesn't get hit very hard against righties. And then even against lefties, like he's not great against lefties, but he doesn't tend to give up a lot of home runs or anything. So I just think this is a spot that you can kind of stay away from the Philly bats.
I almost think you can attack him as a one-off in tournaments because of the walk rate lately. Like when he was pitching well, there were no walks. In his last 7 starts, he's allowed 2 or more walks in all of them. I think that you could do it as like a one-off, a lefty bat like a Ryan Howard. I wouldn't mind, but I certainly wouldn't stack him up, I don't think. But I think there's enough upside there with the walks. And he's just been giving up a lot of hits lately. It's a hitting ballpark. Like I wouldn't mind it. It's just the wrong slate to start stacking Phillies, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't ever hate Ryan Howard as a one-off. He's a cheaper first baseman that has, the same type of ISO and hard contact rate as some of these guys are paying $35 to $4K for. So I'm always okay with a Ryan Howard one-off in tournaments.
Yeah, that's about as far as I can go on the Phillies side here.
Yeah, do not play Joseph on the slate. And Ryan Howard, 6,800 on draft. I think that's an interesting price over there. So a spot that I would definitely look at. Toronto at Baltimore, Marco Estrada, Wade Miley. Before we got started here, me and you were just kind of skimming over the BVP, chatting a little bit about how bad NASCAR was today. And we noticed like Estrada actually had some decent BVP numbers against Baltimore. Does that pique your interest at all?
It does. It's because it's deceptive. Like the first time we saw was like, oh, there's 9 home runs against them. Like that's not good. And then you realize that somebody has 154 at bats. Like that's just crazy. And it's 45 strikeouts with a 30% K rate, an average below 200. And it's not really a park dependent thing. Both parks really good for right-handed power. So yeah, I've got, as much as I call Estrada a fraud, like this is a pretty big sample size of dominance.
Yeah, the Baltimore bats seem like a boomer bust option here because like they do have home runs against him. Like that's why it's deceptive. Like they do have home runs against him. So like you could talk me into like a Trumbo one-off or a Chris Davis one-off. You could definitely talk me into that.
Yeah, it's just like there's just so many options on the slate, like not even including Baltimore. Or it's just like I don't know if I can go there on this slate. Like, I think this is a spot where I'm going to take the stand on Estrada or just let it go. And, man, there's so many pitching options we're going to get to that I probably will just watch this game and just pass it. But I could just totally understand if you just said this is a polar outcome and you need to be on it. I would understand that, too.
Wade Miley, 367 WOBA against righties this season, only a 17% strikeout rate, a 1.6 home run per 9, 19 home runs and 102 innings against righties this season. The Blue Jays, they found their bats this weekend. They were lost, and now they're found. No pun intended. And, man, do we go back to the well? We have Arenado back in Coors Field, so you would think that he's going to be more popular than Donaldson here.
Oh, there's no way. Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, Donaldson did hit 3 home runs on Sunday.
Yeah, he might have just hit 3 home runs on Sunday. Like,
yeah, that's true.
I think Donaldson's the more popular option. I've said this now 3 straight days, and it has failed me 3 straight days, but I'm going to do it a 4th. I'm going to fade Donaldson for Arenado.
I'm not saying it's a bad idea.
No, it just – I mean, one of these days, if I keep doing it, it's going to work, right? Maybe.
Maybe.
Donaldson's on fire, and Wade Miley is just Oh man, I can't imagine a better matchup for Donaldson too. Maybe on fantasy draft, let's play all the third basemen, play Donaldson, play Arenado, and then figure something out at pitcher.
I think E5 has a lot of upside in this game as well.
Massive BVP as well.
Well, now you even sold me more. Like, we get a guy like E5 who has a really high hard contact rate against righties, hits a lot of fly balls. We got a Miley guy that likes to give up home runs. So I think this is a great spot for E5.
I wouldn't get cute with E5 on this slate. 5 for 9, 4 extra base hits, 2 home runs, 5 walks, 1K. That's very good.
For all the people that say they need the BVP numbers to match up, like I just read off the numbers and then you read off the BVP. It lines up like kind of like we're thinking here.
Yeah, for people that were saying Edwin was cold, he doesn't look cold on Sunday. I think he's just fine.
I think he's fine too. Any other guys that stand out to you here? Like Tulowitzki on FanDuel at 3,200. I think he's a really solid cash game option here.
He's going to be uber popular now with no Trey Turner at shortstop. Like, shortstop gets weak very quickly at tier. So I think Tulo's going to be mega chalk, but I also don't know where the pivot is. So that might be some chalk you might have to just eat on this slate.
Yeah, but he still won't be over 50%. So, like.
Oh, no. But he'll be in the 30s, I would think. Maybe high 20s.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, though.
Yeah, there's Corey Seager in course. So I guess he probably will be, even if it is John Gray. So probably in the 20s.
Oh, man. So frustrating to see a team go out, have 3 guys, coaches ejected, and come out on the next day and just be so flat. Like, so tilting. I was telling you before the show, I went all in on Perdomo. I had Donaldson and Marte, and I had the Tigers. And if I would have told you that Perdomo pitched a complete game, Donaldson hit 3 home runs, and Marte hit a home run, you would have thought that I won all the money. But the Tigers, that's what I'm getting to. The Tigers face the White Sox, Matt Boyd, James Shields. I know they tilted you as well. What are we doing here?
You would think after all season I would learn the lesson, right? When the Tigers get cold, it doesn't matter how good the matchup is, you just stay away. You would think I would have learned this lesson. We've seen it in every month this season. They get cold for a week. It doesn't matter what the matchups are, and they're always popular, and I always walk under the trap. You'd think I would have learned the lesson by now. Now I haven't. But it's like, I'm coming with excuses again. Like, oh, I should get off Detroit. They're cold. But it's James Shields, and this is the best matchup on the planet for him. They're the biggest favorite on the board, minus 210, 10 total. James Shields loves to give up home runs. The Tigers love to hit home runs. If there was ever a get-right spot, this would be it. But I could also just see James Shields breaking the heart of the Tigers. I have no idea what to do with this stupid-ass team.
I'm stacking them. You have to have – if you're running multiple teams, say you run 5 to 10 teams. Say you run 3 teams. You have to have a Tiger stack against Shields.
Probably, but they're probably just going to mess it up again. And
yeah, but that's
James Shields going to just do his thing, and you'll be like, why didn't I just fade him? Because they're cold.
But that's the variance of baseball, though. Like, this is the perfect get-right spot. We have a team that hits a ball hard a lot, and you have a pitcher that gives up a shitload of hard contact.
I feel like we just had this spot with Brett Oberholzer, and, like, the day before that, there was a get-right spot.
But me and you have talked about it, like, multiple times this year. Like, we feel like Detroit against lefties is kind of fading out compared to last year.
Yeah, I wish I remember that on Saturday. But it's Brett Oberholzer. It's just, I get it. It's kind of where they're price dependent. On FanDuel, I think you absolutely have to load up on them. The prices are way too cheap for all of them. Just like Justin Upton at $3,000, Cameron Maybin at $2,800, Tyler Collins at $2,200 if he plays. I think on FanDuel I just kind of have to load up on them, and then maybe at the overinflated prices on fantasy draft I take a fade, but. Yeah, it looks like a spot where you're just going to have to kind of have some Tigers exposure. I really can't see a way around it, even though I'm trying to find one.
I picked on Victor Martinez a lot to start the season, but his hard contact rate is really coming up against right-handed pitching this season. He's starting to find the power again from the left side of the plate. And his price tag on fantasy draft at $8,800, I think he's cash game playable over there.
I don't play catchers other than Gary Bonds. Sorry.
We're going to talk about him here in a minute as well. What are we doing with the White Sox against Matt Boyd?
I actually think Matt Boyd is almost in play. Like if this were any other slate, I actually would probably like make a case for Matt Boyd. Minus 210 favorite. Price is a punt. Had some good success lately. Pitching them much better. Top end prospect. Like we expected this from him, so I would be making a case, but I already got 10 names on this list. I really can't make it 11, but I don't hate the spot.
If you had to guess the White Sox hitter on the active roster against lefties that has the lowest WOBA, who do you think it would be?
On the active roster. Is it JV Shuck?
No, he actually has the second highest, but he doesn't have that many at-bats.
I love the Shuck, man.
Only 3% strikeout rate for Shuck against lefties, by the way.
Shuck never. There's a player that actually like has never broken my heart. Every time I play him, he gets the job done.
But back to
but whatever.
Back to the trivia.
I was trying to stall here.
It's Jose Abreu.
Oh well, you're the Abreu fan. I don't think I've literally rostered him one time this entire season.
I don't think I've rostered him against a lefty this year. Man, 285 WOBA against lefties this season. I don't know. Matt Boyd might be more interesting than we think.
I think he's really interesting if this slate didn't have Carlos Martinez, Jose Fernandez, Jake Arrieta, Rick Porcello, Yu Darvish. You get my point.
No, I get your point for sure. I'm just
like,
saying.
If someone wants to take a stand on Matt Boyd, you can win all the money this way. It's completely viable.
He's only 13,000 on draft today.
He's cheap on FanDuel too. He's 6,600, and he's in a really good spot to get a win. There's a lot of bats you want to pay up for. You know what? Boyd's good enough. Boyd, congratulations. You're the 11th man on the list. I do like Evansil Garcia as a one-off, really high card contact rate against left-handed pitching this year.
Yeah, 40%. I definitely agree there. But did you notice something that's a little interesting about Garcia's numbers this year against lefties? He has a 54% ground ball rate and a 16% fly ball rate.
I'm not sure how sustainable that is. What's the sample size there?
Yeah, it's not. It's only 70 at bats. I found that really interesting.
Does it match his prior years? Because that seems really weird.
No, I would have to pull it up. Let me.
I thought you had it up since you had all those awesome stats.
I moved a lot.
I went one step too far, huh?
I moved a lot of my stats to this year. Moving a lot of stuff over to this year at this time of the year.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm sorry to just pull it up here. He's prior years against left-handed pitching.
Yeah, 25% fly ball rate and a 47% last year. So, I guess it's not – it's a little lower, but not that much.
30% line drive rate, though. That's at least solid.
Yeah. I definitely think he's an interesting one-off play here.
Yeah, it's just he has no medium contact. It's super weird. It's like 24% soft and 40% hard.
This is why people listen to the podcast. They get the actual – We're researching something that we thought was interesting right on the podcast. Not editing this out. We're just going to continue to roll here.
Yeah, 200 ISO. I think he's still interesting, but that ground ball rate is a tad concerning.
Minnesota at Cleveland. Trevor Bauer against Hector Santiago. What are we doing with Bauer?
Oh, who's he facing today?
Minnesota.
I was making fun of Dean. He picked him up in season long. I said I was going to stack against Bauer every day this week, both starts. So Minnesota, welcome to the list.
I think he faced him earlier this year, if I remember correctly, and they shelled him.
Yeah, it was recent. It was the beginning of the month, and he just got absolutely blasted. Here's a guy that's so blow-up prone, but on this slate, you'll get the Twins at 1%. That's a perfect spot. Everyone talked about the K upside with Bauer, and it was there at the beginning of the season, but since the beginning of July, he has one start with 7 or more Ks. And all but 3 of them, he's had 4 or less. So this high K upside for Bauer is a complete myth.
I've played him one time this year, and it was against Toronto 2 starts ago.
Well, that's good. Do you like him again? Because if you do, then I'll completely change my tune. Okay.
No. Toronto was super cold there, and it was I think it was a smaller slate. And I actually wrote up Bauer that day, and people thought I was crazy, but yeah.
Oh, that was the full. I remember that. It was a full Friday slate. You wrote him up. I remember you ranked him, and I laughed at you.
Yeah, it just made sense that day. All right. I think this is a spot we can kind of stay away from Bauer and Santiago, though. We have so many options.
Yeah, I can't imagine using them. I don't mind a twin stack in tournaments. Brian Dozier is probably the hottest hitter in baseball that people aren't aware is hot at this point. I mean, he's got a ton of box scores here in the double digits on FanDuel. I mean, it's just amazing. So last time he had he's only had a 0 twice in his last 15 games. That's good.
That is good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, he tilted me. That 0 was against Laureano. Friday. Yeah. All right, so I know you don't like Cleveland bats, but I feel like Cleveland's going to be low on here too.
Ownership on this slate is going to be so spread out.
That's
like
true.
I'm one of the biggest ownership matters things, and you really just can't say it doesn't matter because it's kind of lazy. But on this slate, I can kind of hop on board for like one day because there's like 10 offenses I think you're in elite spots that can score 8+ runs and win you a slate. So it kind of just comes down to like which one do you like the most?
I like Mike Napoli a lot on Fantasy Draft at 8,100. I think that's a really, really good price for Napoli.
I just don't know how he's going to make a team. It's just like there's so many elite guys above him. It's just like, yeah, he's an awesome spot, but like the opportunity cost at first base is through the roof.
Almost a 50% hard contact rate against lefties this year for Napoli.
Oh, I get it. It's just there's so many options at first base. You cannot miss at first base. I don't know if I want to go down sinking the Mike Napoli ship.
No, I'm saying on fantasy, not FanDuel. I'm talking fantasy draft. I get
even on fantasy draft. Like there's literally like Encarnacion, Rizzo, Votto, Ortiz, Miggy, Crush.
You're not going to get anybody with those type of numbers at the same price as Napoli.
I understand where you're coming from. I think fantasy draft, you can pay up and hitting. There's a pitcher that we'll get to that you're going to have to play in your cash games, even though it's going to make you sick.
Any other bats here that you find interesting?
No.
I'm going to tell you one thing. Depending on who we get on this series here, I'm going to have a lot of Jose Ramirez in this series. His home road splits are just insane. And I like I said, we talked about it last week. I don't know what I buy into, when it comes to home and road, but like his are so drastic that I'm going to have shares here.
Also remember that Twins bullpen is like the starting pitching for the Twins that series was actually fine. It was just the bullpen that gave up 6 runs every game. Not even an exaggeration. They literally gave up 6 runs every game.
Super depleted. I'm definitely going to have a Cleveland stack on the slate. Like if they get to Santiago coming off he's banged up like with a thumb injury too. Like if they get to Santiago and he only goes 3 innings, they could score so many runs here.
He hasn't gone more than 5 1/3 in any of his starts with the Twins.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely going to have an Indian stack here today. Tampa at Boston, another stack that we're definitely going to have. We'll talk about the Red Sox in a minute, but what's your thoughts here on Porcello?
I like this spot. This is a really contrarian spot. We promised all these pitchers, and I promised they're coming. I think this is a really good spot for Rick Porcello against a Tampa offense that is really, really bad. It's either going to be Matt Duffy or like Brad Miller in the 4 spot. The K's are back for Porcello. He just dominated the Rays his last time out, and I have a hard time believing that they're going to do it again. And that was even with 9 hits. Like I don't see the Rays getting 9 hits in this game. He's faced the Rays twice in the last 2 months, 8 Ks plus in both starts. I don't know how I don't have Rick Porcello exposure, even with this really, really strong lineup here of pitchers.
Yeah. His price is what bothers me a little bit. He's 22.8 on draft today. Like
if I told you he was going to go 7 innings, strike out 8, and get the win, are you in or out?
No, I'm in. I like him. Like I do. I think I like him more on FanDuel though.
He's done that 4 times. He's faced the Rays 4 times this year, and he's gone 6 innings or more and struck out 8 in every single start. I don't know how you don't, and he's not going to be owned. I think this is a spot you're going to have to just bite the bullet. He's not that overpriced.
Yeah, no, I definitely think he's a good play. And like I talk about it all the time. I love pitchers that I feel like are going to be pitching with a lead, and the Red Sox are going to score runs here.
It's like, okay, even if Porcello gives up runs, right, it's going to have to be home runs. And we're talking about the Rays. So like Brad Miller, Corey Dickerson, Longoria.
Did you see
even if he gives up 2 solo shots, he's still going to strike out 8, go 7, and get a win. It's not the end of the world.
And Rays tilted me on Sunday against Fister.
He's priced more than Yu Darvish. No one's going to go there. It's like the perfect low-owned tournament spot. And you're
No,
not,
I don't hate it, man. You don't have to sell me on a guy that I think is going to win.
it's just like there's gonna be no ownership there, none, because you got the strong mid tier too. Like I really love the spot for tournaments. Like that, I know I talked about like I'm gonna have to take an edge somewhere, take a stand. It might be Porcello here.
Oh, David Ortiz. Like, this guy, it doesn't matter how old he is, right? Like, he's just so good at baseball.
Yeah, I mean, sad to think that we're approaching his final month of his career. If the Red Sox don't make the playoffs,
don't bring me into tears on the podcast, man.
I mean, 72 extra base hits on the season. Are you kidding me? That's just insane.
His final game in Tampa, I have seats right behind the dugout.
Oh, I hate you so much. When is
I
that?
had to, man. Like, there's just some things in life.
Is that the final series?
Yeah.
And like, it's Tampa. No, I'm sure I can still get tickets for that. I probably should come down and join you.
What are we doing with the bats here? Like, they're all priced up. Pedroia. You want to talk about somebody that's hot? Like,
he's not going to start. He's at a funeral. He's coming back in the middle of the innings. So unfortunately, won't be able to use him.
Oh, I thought they said that he'd be back on Monday.
Yeah, John Farrell said that he's planning on Pedroia hitting a home run in the ninth inning, which implied to me that he was not going to start, but would get in the lineup as soon as he got into the stadium.
Oh, okay. Well, then, man, that sucks because you want to talk about hot.
If I have any indication he might get there by the third inning, you could play him at 0.1% in a tournament.
Multi-hits in 4 straight games. Like, he almost tied the major league record for hits and at-bats.
Yeah.
Straight at-bats or whatever. But so we like Ortiz. We like the Red Sox here. Like, what do we do with like Hanley Ramirez and Jackie Bradley Jr. underpriced on FanDuel or a fantasy draft?
Jackie Bradley has just been so bad.
Yeah, they moved him down like the 8th spot.
Yeah, he's batting 9th against the lefty the other day. I think it's a situation where you could just fade him as part of your stack and go somewhere else. He's got 1 extra base hit in 2 weeks. Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I do like the man. If you want to pivot off of the Goatches, you can look at Sandy Leon on a site you need a catcher too.
I just don't know. People aren't playing Gary Sanchez. I don't know how I can just pivot. He's too good.
Oh man, we're gonna talk about that here in a minute. Miami at New York. Jose Fernandez against Rafael Montero. Rafael Montero is back in our lives, CJ.
Yep, and I'm waiting for you to say he is your first fantasy draft cash game play of the day.
Dude, how bad are the Marlins right now? Like, I went all in with Perdomo after I seen Clayton Richard dominate them.
I had 70% Clayton Richard. That was a real thing I did. And I was super confident. I'm literally typing it into the script like 70% Clayton Richard. Didn't hesitate, didn't pause. Was just like, all right, 70% Clayton Richard. Here we go. Got me like 18 DraftKings points. No problem. No sweat.
So what is his price on draft?
He's the minimum.
Because they have the wrong pitcher listed as
He's the minimum. He's 8K.
Oh, man.
Your first fantasy draft cash game play of the day is?
I don't do pitchers. I only do hitters. But
well, you get my point. You have to.
Man, is he stretched out, though? Do we know if he's stretched out?
I'm pretty sure he's been in the minors getting stretched out. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah,
AAA. It looks like he's been starting by the innings.
Yeah, he's the minimum. He's the minimum against Miami. You know how bad Miami is? Jose Fernandez is a minus 170 favorite against the Mets. That's how bad the Miami offense has gotten to this point.
Oh, any bats stand out to you in this game?
No.
Fernandez has upside too in this game, right?
Yeah, I mean he's got upside. The Mets offense is still full of random characters from what feels like an 80s sitcom, and Noah's Drew Cabrera, so they have yet again another injury to deal with.
Yeah, and Walker and Cespedes were out of the lineup on Sunday too. Like Fernandez could see one of the easiest lineups we've ever seen today.
Yeah, and if he's still not minus 200 when that lineup comes out, that probably should give you like some warning signs about how bad Miami is. Like Montero at the minimum on DraftKings is going to be 35%, 40%. I mean, he's going to be through the roof. I can't imagine how you don't play him, given all these high upside bats that we've talked about and are going to talk about.
Yeah, I definitely don't hate that idea for sure. Going to come down to roster construction for me. But on fantasy draft, like you were saying, though, like he's min salary. I have a hard time not seeing him put up double-digit points. And at min salary, if he gives me double-digit points, I'm game.
Yeah, he's minimum on DraftKings. He's not in the player pool on FanDuel, so he can't hurt you there. So it's like two pitching. He's on both two pitcher sites, and he's at the minimum on both. It's going to be really tough to not have a ton of exposure there.
Yeah, I do think Fernandez, though, I think he might have the highest upside on the slate if this lineup is looking like what kind of shaping out to be here.
Here's my problem with him. It's just like he's got to go out and have one of his better games on this slate to get the job done. You know, you got Jake Arrieta against a very right-handed Pittsburgh team. You've got Rick Porcello. You've got Joe Musgrove. You've got Shoemaker. You've got Pineda, all in good spots, you know, for like half the price. So, like, if they do well, you're really going to need a big Jose game to get you there. I'm not saying it's impossible, but if he starts becoming like a play that people are going to really go to in droves, I think there's really good merit to the fade here just because of Montero's presence at the bottom.
Yeah, I could definitely see a double-digit strikeout game here for Fernandez.
Oh, it's totally possible. It's completely possible. It's just that if he doesn't get that, I don't see how you can win a tournament.
No, I don't disagree. St. Louis at Milwaukee, Zach Davies against Carlos Martinez. Carlos Martinez against the strikeout-happy Brewers team. What are we doing with Martinez here?
I think he's viable in all formats. I actually thought he was hurt heading into that last start, which I think was against the Brewers, wasn't it? It was against the Mets. He threw a gem. I think he's looking better. He had a really rough stretch in late July, early August, but he looks good now. Brewers, of course, are a team that you kind of got to see what the lineup is. They actually can kind of throw some lefties in there, so you got to be a little careful. But you're getting the discount off of those top-end arms, and he does have the K upside. I just don't know if he's going to be a guy that like I want to ride and die with on this slate.
I don't think there's a pitcher that I'm going to ride and die with on this slate.
I just like there's too many names. Like at some point, I feel like I'm just gonna have to take a stand. I don't know where I'm gonna take that stand. I mean, we still like haven't gotten to like 6 or 7 amazing names. It's just, I mean, you're gonna have to take a stand between pitching and hitting somewhere, and it's just really hard because we mentioned that there's just so many options, and I'm just not comfortable to be like I'm gonna do the X, Y, Z because I have no idea.
I think I remember Zach Davies shut down the Cardinals earlier this year.
He did it last year, too, in that first start.
8 innings, 3 hits, 0 earned runs, 9 strikeouts on June 1st.
The Cardinals are so cold, too. Like, there's another team that just kept letting me down every day this weekend against random A starter after random A starter.
They're going to be so popular, too.
No way. There's no way.
Like so popular, but there's going to be ownership here.
No chance. There's
really?
No chance.
Well, then I have interest in the Cardinals then.
Washington, Toronto, Boston, Detroit, Colorado, Chicago. Where's the ownership gonna come in? Like where I don't know how you could possibly pick the Cardinals.
St. Louis stack. I'm gonna tell you right now. What I'm gonna do on this slate is I'm gonna make 10 stacks of all these like 1% owned stacks.
I mean, it's viable. It's just good luck beating all those stacks. Like one of these is gonna have to go up. If there's a world in which Washington, Toronto, Boston, Detroit, Coors all are terrible on this slate, I'll be the first one online applauding you, Stevie.
No, I'm not saying that they're going to be terrible. Today's going to be fun.
He's saying that sarcastically in case you guys didn't figure that out.
So St. Louis bats. What stands out to you here against Davies?
Brendan Moss.
Carpenter.
Yeah, he's on fire. Just put him back in the leadoff spot, and he's just tearing it up. I'm not sure what took them so long.
Jerko.
Yeah, you think that's going to end at some point, right? Still Jed Jerko.
He's still. I can't believe how much he's crushing right-handed pitching this year. He has 18 home runs against righties this year.
I mean, it's funny. This is what we thought he was going to do when he got called up by the Padres, and he was just terrible. And now he's finally doing like what we all thought he could do, which is mash the ball.
I think people are just so excited to get out of San Diego. Look at Grandal. Same thing. We thought he was going to be a superstar.
It's just so weird looking at the Jed Jerko like stat line. He's got 22 home runs and 6 doubles. Like, you got to feel like some regression's coming at some point, right?
Listen, it's not coming here in Milwaukee against Zach Davies.
Probably not.
Yeah, I just think that's a little interesting little mini 3-man stack because they could hit 1, 2, 3 too.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I just
maybe you mix them in with one of the other popular stacks on the slate.
Make yourself contrarian in that way. Yeah, that's totally viable.
All right,
there's so many options on the slate. Like it's gonna be really hard to build the. Yeah.
Milwaukee, no.
No.
All right, move on. Seattle at Texas. You Darvish against Iacuma. Darvish, another upside pitcher. What's your thoughts?
He's another high upside pitcher that you can never be wrong in rostering.
I like how easily you sum that up.
I mean, I wish I had a better take than that. I just don't.
If there's a spot to fade Darvish, though, wouldn't it be against Seattle?
I mean, I guess if you want, and maybe if you think that like he's having fatigue after the surgery, like because what people don't remember after the surgery, right, is that you're rehabbing all offseason and you don't rest like you normally do. So he could have just hit a wall in that last start against Cincinnati. I think that's the downside, right?
Honestly, man, like I say it all the time, pitchers have to be good. They're good in a third of their starts. They're bad in a third of their starts, and the other third of their starts is how they determine their career. And like starts like that against Cincinnati are just going to happen, right?
Yeah, that's a totally viable outcome. It could just be, or he could just be fatiguing because he hasn't had time off in 18 months. So it's.
I do worry about this start against Seattle for Darvish. I don't think he's a slam dunk in any means, but I
honestly think he's like the easiest guy for me to cross off my list.
And which is crazy, but I think I agree with you because Seager, Cano, Cruz, Smith, like all these guys, even Martin,
the new home run hitter and batting leadoff now finally for that team. He's super interesting in tournaments today.
Yeah, I think Seattle. I'm not going to stack.
You can't.
Seattle.
I don't know if you can go there, but
no.
I would want to. Like if this were like an 8-game slate, I would definitely be on board with the Seattle stack. But on this 13-game slate, it's just like. I don't know.
I gotta pull up their prices now.
They're pretty cheap.
Oh man,
Nelson Cruz, I think, is a guy that you're gonna have some one-off exposure to. I would imagine.
7,500. Martin 7,200. Seth Smith 6K on draft. Oh, all right.
If there was no Montero on this slate, this would be a much more interesting game.
What are we doing with Texas bats against Iacuma?
Nothing.
No.
I mean, I just don't see the scenario where he gets shelled, and that bullpen isn't just bad enough that, even if he gives up 5 or 6. I know I'd say this, and it sounds stupid, if he only gives up 5 or 6, normally you're happy with 5 or 6. But on this slate, 5 or 6 is not going to get it done. This reminds me of the Saturday slate where you needed to, have an offense that scored 10 runs to win anything.
I'm looking at something real quick. I want to look at it's up and down. I'm trying to figure out why his strikeouts are so down right now. Look at his last 3 starts, 3, 2, and 2. I guess it was Oakland, LA, and New York. Maybe that. The velocity's not really sending. I don't know. He was so bad in those 3 starts, though.
But 3 earned runs. That's just not yeah, he wasn't great, but that's not going to win you anything.
No, all right. Let's move on. I'm kind of with you here. There's a good chance I end up on a Seattle stack.
We promised you some pitching. I still promise it's coming.
This is a spot that it's coming. Pittsburgh at Chicago, taking on the Cubs. Jake Arrieta, Steven Brault. Give me your thoughts on Arrieta here.
I mean, it depends on what Pirates lineup you get. If you get the good Pirates lineup, I got no interest in Arrieta. The good lineup is the one with Adam Frazier and Matt Joyce in there, and they sit some righties. If they play that right-handed heavy lineup with Josh Harrison leading off and John Jaso batting second and no Josh Bell, it becomes one of those things where you can really play Arrieta here if the wind's not blowing out. It's a good spot. He's been, people were worried if he was back or not. It's looked pretty good recently. That last start against San Diego was a gem. I'm not too concerned about it. The walks maybe are the only concern here. They were a lot lower earlier in the season, but you know what? Those things ebb and flow, and I'm not going to get too concerned about it here.
Yeah, I think he's probably the safest pitcher on the board. I just looked at the wind. It's pretty neutral, pretty cooler game here. It's going to be in the 75 range, so I think this is a good spot for Arrieta.
Yeah, it just comes down to whether you want to pay that at least elite price tag for a guy with that elite Ks. On this slate, you might want to fade him for that reason only, but I mean, if there was a spot for him to get a lot of Ks, it would be against this Pittsburgh team.
Any interest in Steven Brault?
No. No.
Listen, my job is just to ask these questions.
Oh, I'm not. I was just thinking about what it would take for me to roster Steven Brault on this slate. You know how bad he is on fantasy draft? He's below the minimum. He's 7,800.
Is that how bad he is, or is that just how good the Cubs offense is?
Probably closer to the latter, but
so
whatever.
If you're making a non-core stack, and you go like Cubs Boston, that seems like a good way to go, right?
If you plug in any of these teams today, I just don't think you're going to find, like, if some team is 20% owned and you're on them, I feel like you've done it wrong.
So
I don't think that's going to happen, but, like, if you come up to roster lock and your team is 20% owned, I feel like that's a mistake.
So what if you, like, looking at the Cubs numbers and stuff, what if you just go like Rizzo Bryant as a +2?
Man, I normally don't play +2s, but these are the type of slates where I do it. In terms of just there's so much upside everywhere. Just take the best matchups in every spot, kind of combine it together, and if every game shoots out, you're in good shape.
Yeah, just looking at like the power numbers for the Cubs, like the hard contact rate, the ISO, like nothing stands out to me here outside of Rizzo and Bryant. So like I might do a +2 with these guys.
The Cubs are probably one of the teams that I'm probably just not going to end up on today. Just there's so many spots I love, and I've got my just a little concerns about like how good is the bottom of that order? Can they actually turn it over as much as I'm going to need them to? I think I could probably write the Cubs off, but it's not because I'm worried about the top. It's kind of more the bottom. Can they get runners on base and put up these big innings?
We're not playing Pirates against Arrieta, right?
No.
Oakland at Houston, Joe Musgrove against Sean Manaea. Musgrove, what a disappointing 2 starts in a row.
Yeah, but all that did is put the ownership that levels down back where it was originally.
Yeah, I'm guessing we're on the same page here. We both have interest.
I have a ton of interest in Joe Musgrove today.
I've gotten to the point, CJ, where I'm going to play every pitcher against Oakland and just I feel like I'm going to be successful more than 70% of the time.
Yeah, and on the teams that you don't play, you just plug in Chris Davis and you move on with your life.
Yeah. So
have you ever been a lower owned, like 35 home run hitter in the history of baseball than Chris Davis?
Is he like 6th now or like 7th overall in the season?
Yeah. Just like, and no one ever rosters him. Ever.
26 against right-handed pitching this season too.
And he's never rostered. I don't understand. Like, today he hit one off a lefty, but he was like 20% owned. Today he'll get a righty and he'll be like 6% owned, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a really good profile for him too, actually. Like, we've seen Joe Musgrove now when he gets in trouble, it's actually the right-handed bats. So, I guess he had a little problems with the lefties in the last start, but the first couple starts was the Donaldson types and the Machado types, and Chris Davis fits that kind of mold.
Yeah, and he's only 8,700 on draft today.
I love that price.
That's the only guy for Oakland, right?
Yep.
Looking at Houston, it's Sean Manaea. It's a lefty against Houston, which is always interesting, but I just don't know if he's the guy that's going to shut down this offense.
If I was to fade Gary Bonds, it would be for Evan Gattis.
Yeah.
Who's actually really hot in his own right now.
Yeah, 282 ISO against left-handed pitching. George Springer, 300 ISO. Alex Bregman, not a big sample size, but he's hitting lefties really hard too.
After letting everyone down the first 10 days, he's just like, the people that stuck with him all the way through have been rewarded.
Yeah, I like him a lot on draft at 8K. I think he's playable there. Springer at 9,600, I think he's playable as well.
That's a totally fair price. I would not plug him in over some other guys, but if you have those other guys in your lineup already, then you can add him too.
Yeah, just see where you're at on the last couple spots with your utility for sure. They raised his price on FanDuel finally. He's 3,400.
Oh wow, it's 3,400. I'm so scared.
Third base? No, but at third base, like with Donaldson and Bryant and Arenado, like less than 10%, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But does he have the upside as those other guys? That's the problem. I wouldn't be shocked if he hits a home run here.
I mean, okay, here's the thing at third base, right? Like, there's 3 really elite options on the top, Donaldson, Bryant, Arenado. And then I guess you got Justin Turner, too. Yeah, I think he does have the upside, but I don't know what the percentage chances are he actually reaches it. Like, I think he can do it, but I'm not sure if it's probable enough where I'm going to fade one of those top guys.
Yeah, roster construction thing for me, like game theory as well. Like guy that's probably would be less than 5% owned here.
Yeah, and like the jerk store at 3,200, there's no way he's going to be owned. None.
Might be an interesting position to go down. Any other Houston bats? Well, obviously Altuve, but outside of that,
no. I never will play Correa. Like, Correa is going to be a super popular shortstop. That's an easy fade for me.
Yeah, a lot of hard contact, but just not making a lot of contact against lefties.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good fade. No Trey Turner, so I think people will look there, and I think it's a really good spot to play the fade.
Just play Tulo and be done with it. New York heading to Kansas City. Michael Pineda, Dylan G. What's your thoughts on Pineda here?
Oh, I don't know. I really think he's in a good spot, and I know the truthers are going to come out in force and really like this spot for him, and I get it. The price is super fair, and there's a lot of names around him, so the ownership won't be high. It's a really good spot. He can put up some upside. It's a massive ballpark, which always helps because he's got some home run problems, and maybe the park can keep one of them in there. It's really tough, though, to be like on this slate to want to endorse Pineda, but I get it.
You know I'm not playing him. I have to bring people on that talk about him because I don't ever play him.
I don't either, but if there was ever a time I was gonna be like, I'm gonna hop on the Pineda train, this would be it though.
But why is he only 7K on DraftKings? I feel like that's just telling you that he's a trap, right? The DraftKings algorithm knows everything.
It does know everything. This is a very fair point. It does.
I'm just saying, it feels like such a trap, and he's going to be so popular.
The problem is he's just been crushing these right-handed heavy lineups all year. All year he just destroys them.
Yeah, but this ballpark depresses strikeouts too.
Not really.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, I've been looking into this ballpark stuff that Derek has been talking about, altitude and stuff, and you would be shocked. Kansas City actually doesn't get a lot of strikeouts. As much as I thought it was crazy. I really did.
No, it's not the ballpark thing. I think it's crazy. I just if I'm looking at these right-handed dominant lineups, going back to the beginning of June, 8 strikeouts against Detroit, 8 strikeouts against Detroit, 9 against Minnesota, 8 against Minnesota, Boston 6, Baltimore 8, Houston 8, Tampa 8. I mean, there's a Boston with 3. The start against Toronto that was rain shortened, he only had 2, but he was throwing a shutout. His consistency against these right-handed heavy lineups is really consistent. Kansas City doesn't have that many lefties other than Morales and Hosmer in that lineup that make me worry. I think there's merit here, and I say this as a guy that loves to make fun of Pineda. I think this is one of the better spots he's seen.
I'm gonna play the fade. I think you made.
It's not a fade though. He's not going to be owned.
I think you're making great points, and I definitely disagree with you. I think he's going to be popular.
Oh, there's no. How people are going to?
Because he's only 7K. He's 14,000 on draft.
Montero. Everyone's playing Montero, and it's going to be a high-low game. Well, high-low day for sure.
All right, I'm totally pulling up Perdomo's ownership, and you pull up Richards, and I bet
What's it matter?
Nobody plays those guys.
It's a completely different slate, though. Completely different dynamic.
I don't think Montero is going to be as popular as you.
I hope not. I really hope not. But I'm sure that people throughout the day, it's people are Montero's a legit prospect. It's the Marlins. They're terrible. I think the news is. I don't think I'm going to be able to sneak this one through people.
Perdomo is 1.9% against the Marlins.
But that was a bad. He's a key. Just Miami had a bunch of lefties. That's not the world's best spot for Perdomo.
Yeah, but he's a good prospect too. I'm just saying, I don't think he's going to be as popular as you.
I've been awful. There were no elite guys on this slate, though. All there was Chris Archer at 99. You have Fernandez, Arrieta, Porcello, Darvish. People are going to want to get there. You got Coors Field on the slate. It's a completely different dynamic. I don't think we've seen we saw Luke Weaver go in at 23% on Friday.
Oh, I don't want to talk about Luke Weaver.
Sorry about that. I ended up using him too. I felt really bad about that.
Any bats that you like in this game?
I honestly forgot what game. Canada. I think the Yankees are the one stack that no one's going to touch because it's a disastrous ballpark. But Dylan G is awful. Awful. And you know what's almost as bad as him? That bullpen behind him. He got shelled every time, and then he finally faced some bad teams, so people may think he's decent, but he's still terrible.
Yeah, even Dylan G couldn't shut down the Marlins, though.
That's what I'm saying. That's how bad he is.
So what are we doing with Gary Sanchez, CJ?
I'm rostering him. You can do whatever you want.
I've been playing him. I definitely got on this bandwagon late, but
it's better late than never.
I think it's crazy the ownership percentages. As much as I want to fade the guy, he's going to be even lower owned here on FanDuel today at 4K, right?
I mean, you would think so, and you just look at the matchup against Dylan G, and it's it was like the people that wanted to fade him today against Kevin Kautzman, and I'm just sitting there like, maybe there's regression coming because he's not going to be this good, but against Kevin Kautzman, I don't think it's the spot the regression's going to come.
Yeah, and Dylan G has this issue. It's
called
called
home run balls.
Home runs. Yeah.
1.93 per 9 home runs per 9 to righties. That's not good.
Oh, man. Outside of him, though, what are we doing with the rest of these guys?
I think you stack them up or you fade outside of him.
Yeah, you can play him as a +1.
I think the stack is very much in play. And there's talk about a team that's leading 1%. They let down everyone on Sunday. They go into a bad ballpark, but this bullpen is so bad. Like they could score 13 runs on 18 hits, and away you go.
Oh, let's talk about it, CJ. The Dodgers heading to Coors Field. Kenta Maeda against John Gray. Like we're fans of John Gray. We talk about John Gray from time to time, but like there is absolutely no possible way that I am playing John Gray against one of the hottest offenses in baseball.
The real question is, can you fade Coors in this spot?
I don't know. Like, you know what the Dodgers have been doing.
I know that what they did against Matt Moore.
Like yeah. That's a lefty though. That makes sense.
I was trying to get a Matt Moore reaction. Did not work. You didn't take the bait.
That was the worst pitching or worst coaching I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. We were
from a person that has had Tommy John twice. That is the worst coaching I've ever seen in my life. When he was at 115, when he got Utley out with 7 1/3, right?
7 2/3, I think, at that point.
No, it was only 1 out. Utley was the first out of the inning. He pinch hit. He was the first batter in the inning. He was
yeah. Before
you pull him at 115 pitches. Like, you traded for the guy to make a playoff run. Like, yeah.
And then Seager on Seager bobblehead day. Like, it was the biggest lock of all time.
Don't even, like, for people that follow me on Twitter, I've already tilted about this on Twitter, but, like, the Giants are 4 games up on Pittsburgh right now, or, like, 2.5 games after, win, loss, whatever. But, like, they're in the playoff run right now. Like, that's the last thing you do with a guy.
It's pretty inexcusable. As a guy that normally is leave him in there under any circumstances, you can't do it there.
No. Arm injuries are ridiculous.
I
would be shocked if he doesn't get like an extra day or 2 on his next start. But
if he doesn't, it becomes the easiest stack spot in the world.
I'm stacking against him regardless. But all right. So Kenta Maeda, we're not playing John Gray or Maeda here, right?
Maeda's had 2 good starts in Coors, right? I know he had a gem the first time out. I don't remember what he did the second time. I remember saying that, like, I remember doing the podcast and saying, oh, he threw a gem the first time, but I don't remember what he did the second time.
He's only given up 2 earned runs in Coors this year.
Yeah.
5 2/3, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, only 5 strikeouts. He must have threw a lot of pitches in that game because he didn't go deep at all.
I'm torn because there's 2 really good pitchers in Coors. You could fade it, but the Colorado lineup is way left-handed header betting, or more left-handed heavy. We've seen them play par at first base now. You can get all 4 of those outfielders in that lineup, the left-handers. You got Nolan Arenado. You got DJ LeMahieu. The lineup is pretty strong. I don't know what to do. I'm gonna kind of
play them.
If Coors comes in at 15% owned, you got to be there. If it comes in at 20% on this slate, though, I don't know if I really want to.
Do you really think they're going to be 20%? Like we have.
I don't think so. I think they'll be 15. Does that sound all right?
I think it might even be lower. Like there's 2 really decent pitchers, and the prices are through the roof.
Oh, are they through the roof? Yeah, I should look at that. I know Parra's not through the roof. He's free.
Yeah, he's 3,200 on FanDuel. Like Adrian Gonzalez, there's your first baseman cash game play at 3,600.
Have you seen what Parra's price is on Fantasy Draft?
Oh man, yeah, play that guy in cash games today.
Yeah, he's 6K.
6K.
Yeah, I know he's bad, but you don't fade that in cash games.
No, you just play it and move on to the next spot.
Yeah, you block that and move on.
I didn't think you could play Jock Peterson in cash on draft at 8,400. He's not a cash game play ever, but it's Coors Field, and he's been hitting the ball really well.
Yeah, it's just, and the thing is, you can reach all these bats when you play Montero in cash. Like, I encourage everyone, even if you're not a Montero and you don't punt pitching in cash, I encourage you to at least try to build the lineup and see the hitters you can get, and then decide if you really think it's worth the extra 8 to 10K on draft to get yourself in the mid tier. I think you're going to find out it's not worth it.
I retract my previous statement about playing Jock and Cash.
Uh-oh.
He
Why is
went
that?
super cold. He hasn't hit a hit since the 22nd.
Yeah, you remember the last time he was cold going to Coors Field last year? What happened?
Yeah, that's true. It's Coors Field. Play Jock.
Yeah.
Jock Jam's tweet at about 9:45 tomorrow night.
Yeah. I think he'll be much happier having suggested to play him than fade him.
Oh, play David Dahl in this spot too. I love this guy.
Yeah, it's just now that they're playing par at first base, this Rockies lineup suddenly is 6-7 deep, and it's a lot more challenging than it was even like a couple weeks ago when it was 5 deep.
All right, last game of the night, Cincinnati at Los Angeles. Matt Schumacher, Dan Straley. Is Schumacher on your list today?
He is on the list. I think it's a really interesting spot for the shoe. You got to see kind of what the lineup the Reds roll out there. They are adding the DH, which should help. I suspect they're going to use Jose Peraza, or they'll put Phillips at DH and let Peraza play second, which is interesting. But I still think the shoe is worthy of consideration. Now, the K's have just disappeared from him for the last month and a half, and there's nothing to indicate that like it's anything other than just like variance. I keep looking at like swing and strike rates, whiff rates, trying to find something, and there's just nothing there that indicates that it's a pitching thing. It's just kind of like the lineups he's faced. I'm not too worried about it, to be honest.
Can I help you a little bit?
Sure.
His home strikeout rate is 27%. His away strikeout rate is 16%.
Yeah, a lot of it just comes down to the opposition. It's been like Oakland, Seattle, Cleveland, Seattle, Toronto. Like, not exactly murderer's row in terms of strikeouts there. And Kansas City before that.
Yeah, like I think this is a great spot for him. He's one of my favorite pitchers on this slate, and I thought that was crazy, but I'm glad you have him on your list.
Yeah, it just at some point, like, at some point during the day, something's going to have to budge. Either I'm just going to have to pass on the slate entirely because I can't pull down this list anymore, or like I'm going to have to get really nitpicky and pull some guys off the list for reasons that normally like I wouldn't even consider.
Yeah, like you have to note too, this is a massive ballpark shift for the Reds. Like where a fly ball would be out at Great American Ballpark, it'd be a warning track shot here.
Or even in Arizona where they just came from and obliterated the Diamondbacks pitching staff. Still more of the same. It's a lot bigger ballpark from there too.
Yeah, and marine layer, if it's in effect, like all that stuff.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a good spot for the show.
Yeah, this is one of the better, as far as weather goes, it's one of the better games on the slate for weather as far as pitching goes.
Yeah, the total is pretty low too. It's at 8, which is one of the lower totals on the board today.
And we always worry about run support when it comes to like the Angels facing and getting run support for their pitcher, but they actually, the 3 or 4 guys that have faced Straley have hit him really well.
Yeah, and it's a really good spot. Like C.J. Cron coming back in that lineup and them actually playing Marte just makes it way stronger than it's been most of the season. I have no concerns over playing Angels as one-offs if you wanted to. It's not the best ballpark, but I understand that their prices are kind of down.
Dan Straley's been pitching well too. Like he's
I don't
a guy.
I don't stack against him. He's really good.
Yeah, he's a guy that there's going to be times here down the stretch that I think we're going to talk about using him.
He reminds me of a Doug Fister type. Control, hits, hard contact, should worry you, but in big ballparks, you can kind of get away with that.
Trout, right? That's it. Calhoun, if he's cheap still. Is he still cheap?
He is 6,600 on draft.
He's still free.
I don't mind Marte, and I don't mind C.J. Cron. They're pretty. Cron at 6K and Marte at 5,600 are very good punt options if you need to save money in the spot.
Yep, I think this is a spot you could look at for some value here for sure.
Yeah, if you're fading Montero and need value, I think this is the spot I'm going to go to for one-offs.
That's going to wrap it up here for this slate. Let's play some home run derby. I actually don't know how Friday panned out for us. Let me look.
Tell me who we got. I forgot who I had. We can do a recap for the listeners.
We had 0 home runs.
Oh, yeah? Who did I have that let me
You
down?
had Chris Davis against my stud Luke Weaver.
Yeah.
Pollock had a really rough start. And you had Arenado, and that was the one game I think he didn't hit a home run.
Yeah.
And then I had Ortiz, Alvarez, and Duvall. I didn't get any home runs either.
Jeez.
So we need some home runs here, CJ.
We do need some home runs. No Coors Field as always when we're at Coors. No Coors Field, which it's fine because we have like 19 other places. We
Yeah,
can
I was
go.
gonna say this is a spot where okay, whatever, no Coors Field. Okay, next.
Yeah. I kind of want to ban Toronto too, just for the sake of fun.
No.
Ugh.
No.
I hate the Blue Jays. Oh, God. All right, I got the first overall pick.
I know. Big advantage here.
Yeah, such a
Zero-
huge advantage on this slate. Yeah,
Zero
sure thing.
advantage whatsoever.
Yeah, there's no advantage whatsoever. Since I want to make sure this guy gets 0 home runs, since I'm probably going to fade him, I may as well do some hedging here, and I'll take Josh Donaldson.
All right. I'm definitely going Chris Bryant.
Oh man, I should just really ensure the Wade Miley gem here and go Edwin. You know what? Let's take Edwin.
All right, E5. I'll go to first base too, and I'll go Poppy.
Yeah, I was going to give you Poppy. He's going to hit one, but yeah, boy, there's just like 19 options I want to pick from here. You know what? Not our Big T. He would pick this guy if he were on the show. Let's do some Gary Bonds, aka Gary Sanchez.
It's a pretty winning bet right now.
It feels like a solid idea here.
One thing that just looking at the slate with you and, kind of breaking it down, this is our first look too. This is the first time we're really like looking in depth at the slate. I think there's going to be one position I pay up for a lot, and it's going to be this guy, and it's going to be Daniel Murphy. That's my third pick.
Yeah, it's a really good selection. I agree with you. I think the slate is really deep at all the other positions other than second and short. And I think there's really not a lot of pivots. Like when I'm fading chalk, I like to find a pivot like off of Tulo, like outside of Seager. Like where's the pivot that has upside? It just doesn't exist. Like moving Trey Turner to outfield on this slate in particular was just really painful.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like second base tonight, like I think you pay up for Murphy, Carpenter, Dozier, Altuve, even DJ LeMahieu, Ian Kinsler, like any of these top options, or you just absolutely punt the position. And I think if you punt the position, you're doing it wrong tonight.
I just don't know where you punt. There's no punts. Like if you scroll down the list, like you're really gonna play a guy like
Colton Long.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That was very sarcastic. I hope you understand that.
Oh, I understood that.
You can play Brandon Phillips
as the DH. I guess that's viable. He has to play the field.
No chance. Like how bad are the Reds that they have to DH Brandon I suck Phillips?
I mean, it's better than him playing second base. It's actually like an improvement to the defense for Dan Straley, like massive upgrade.
Good job. But yeah, I think that there's an interesting tournament play, Sterling Castro against G.
God, the Yankees against G. I'm telling you, like someone's gonna win a tournament just playing those Yankees. Dylan G is so bad, and that Kansas City bullpen is worse. Just such a good spot.
At the end of the day, if you had to pick one pitcher not named Fernandez, Arrieta, Yu Darvish, Carlos Martinez, Rick Porcello to pick up a win here, doesn't have to score the most fantasy points, but you really think he's going to win, Luke Weaver. Who do you got?
Man, I still feel really bad about that too. I laughed him off, said no way all day. Even sent me a message at 3:00. Change your mind on Weaver. No, 650. I plug him in the lineup.
Kid's good, right? Like I was
impressed watching him too. I said to like I'm sorry, I was wrong. He's actually good.
Yeah, local boy, man. I followed that kid. Anyway, go ahead.
He was really good. Matt Boyd.
Matt Boyd. That is not who I thought you were going to take. I really thought you were going to take Musgrove.
I worry just on the win, like Sean Manaea against Houston. Like I'm just not a guy that likes playing lefties against Houston. I tried it Saturday, it didn't work again. I'm just gonna stay away from it.
I'm gonna go with the maker of shoes here.
Wow.
I think he wins tonight against Cincinnati.
You really like the shoe. Like I thought I liked him, but I have a feeling that you really like the shoe tonight.
I'm gonna have a lot of shoes.
Yeah.
He makes
hopefully you can buy your wife some more shoes with the dollars he makes you. No more shoes.
No, she's good.
All right.
Her closet, yeah, no, she's good.
No more shoes. All right,
she's good.
At least she doesn't listen to the podcast, so you're good.
Yeah, no, she's off tomorrow. She's definitely not listening to the podcast tomorrow.
Perfect. You're all set.
I'm good. And she's definitely sleeping right now, so I'm definitely good. But like, he's 14-4 on draft. Like, do you know how many stacks you can make if you just plug in Schumacher and you plug in Montero? Not saying that I'm going to do that, but like
that's a really and you just play, if you do that and just play all the best hitters, there's merit to that strategy. It worked on Friday. That's what won all the money on Friday and Saturday for that matter was just pay down at pitcher and pay up for the hitting in these high totals. I think it's a very viable strategy, and I have an interest in it on this slate just because there's so many pitching options. They all kind of do the same thing. It just comes down to the bats, and if you just have saved the money at pitcher, then you're in a good spot.
Like, even if you don't trust Montero, like me and CJ think that he's a good play, you can go Musgrove and Schumacher, and you have 8,800 per bat.
If you're playing multiple entries, you have to play a Montero. You can't completely fade the spot.
I don't disagree with you.
It's just, yeah, the opportunity it gets you with all these elite hitters is just so high.
No, I'm definitely going to have some interesting stacks today. Like, outside of, we talked about Arrieta and Fernandez, but like outside of that, like Porcello, we definitely think he's going to have a good game. You could struggle. There's no reason that Carlos Martinez couldn't struggle a little bit against Milwaukee and not have that high upside game. Like, paying down for pitching might be an interesting strategy today.
Yeah, I just don't. It might get like I think I'm just gonna go where the people aren't. But I have a feeling paying down at pitcher is gonna be very popular tomorrow.
All right, that's gonna wrap it up here for the Monday edition of the Morning Grind. I hope everybody enjoyed. If you haven't checked out Fantasy Draft, get in that 5-day survive in advance. If you guys like what CJ talks about here, you can always hit him up for coaching. NFL's about to start, and the guy definitely knows his football. So I'm excited to start doing some football podcasts, man.
Oh, football, man! I really got excited about today. I started digging through my sleeper list, and I want to be the first one on record. So I'm going to say it one more time. I said it on Twitter a couple times, but I want to have it like in a verbal form when it happens. Tyler Gaffney is winning the Patriots running back spot and will be the starter week 1. Blunt might not make that team.
I was listening to XM on the way home today, traveling, and they were saying the same thing. Like, Blunt might not make this team.
Yeah, I know Jeff Mons and I are really in lockstep on this one. You don't pick up someone from IR and let him sit on your IR for an entire year if you don't think he's good.
Do you want to know who I'm going to have way too much exposure to week 1? Not to get into like a football down spiral here.
Dak Prescott?
No, well, he's going to be
but that's not who you meant.
You have to play him in cash on FanDuel at min salary.
You have to play him everywhere in cash at min salary.
I don't know on DraftKings. Like, anyway, we're definitely going to discuss this when we talk football. But on FanDuel, I'm going to have way too much Marvin Jones.
Yeah, this is starting to get to Devontae Adams levels of hype here.
I mean, I know going in, I already know, like, if he busts, I'm probably going to have a bad week 1.
Yeah, I haven't made my decision. There's a bunch of guys like that. I think the hype train on some guys has really gone a little too far in a couple spots on week 1, but it's going to be fun. I'm ready to start talking football. When is the first football podcast? Is that soon?
Well, we'll discuss that. It has to be next week.
Oh, yes.
So we'll discuss that. And like I said, guys, good luck in your contest tonight. And I hope we got you excited about some football talk. And
it's more exciting than this baseball slate.
We'll see you again tomorrow.